I had that conversation I had that kind of conversation multiple times a day for years. So that's what it's like being a pioneer. It's absolutely it's unforgiving, right? But if you have absolute conviction in in the direction and the reason for what you're doing, then I think it's like it becomes like it's not like it's not such a chore. It's not such a burden. It's just feels like you are a missionary kind of, and you're converting people.
Hi, welcome back to Chatham Coffee Tour. Today I have my guest, Chas Lacaillade. Chas has family roots in Chatham that go back quite a bit, not only with he and his siblings and his parents, but with his aunt and uncle and his cousins. So they have a big posse that has been coming to Chatham for quite some time. So welcome, Chas.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Love having you here. So you've been coming to Chatham, as I said, for quite some time. Tell me about like your first memories, how you got here, and what you really think about when you think about summers in Chatham.
So my my parents bought a house on Champlain Road in 1979, and I was born in April of 1980, um, and I grew up in this house on Champlain Road that overlooked Stage Harbor, and I went to my earliest memories of Chatham are going to the band concert with my family and going to Chatham A's games, which I loved, and I did Chatham A's camp for
Oh, so did
you
I.
know
Yeah.
aspiring baseball players, and that was like a really something I was incredibly enthusiastic about. I still have some of the hats that they gave us every year, and then I did sailing lessons at the Stage Harbor Yacht Club, which I was not enthusiastic about, but my parents were very adamant about me learning to sail, and I do not. I'm very poor sailor to this day, so nobody trusts me at the helm. And then, or at the rudder or the tiller, whatever. Like
So you failed parts.
my vocabulary is. I know that these are all parts of a boat, but and then I learned tennis at the Chatham Beach Tennis Club, which was ground zero for like all of my social interactions, and it's how I know you and the Phelps family and just countless families that I'm so thrilled to be friends with all these years after. So, you know, my experience in Chatham has been one of just constant activity with really high caliber, interesting, loyal people.
Oh, I love that. And I love the part about you're not really took to sailing too. I think that's kind of hilarious. I know
Because
there
it's
were quite a
coastal,
few.
and
Yes,
everybody thinks like, you're right on the water. Like we literally like every there's so many water views in Chatham because it's got miles and miles of coastline, right? Which is great.
67 miles of coastline, by the way.
67 miles.
Something
It's
like that.
like,
Yep. Mhm.
which is the most coastline of any town in Cape Cod, right? Because of all the inlets.
Probably. Yeah. And the ponds and yeah.
Yeah, and you don't have to enjoy sailing or boating to love Chatham.
So how about now? But you go on boat. I mean, you just go on other people's boats. Like, yeah, go. You like to fish or anything?
I think it's far better to have friends with boats than to own a boat yourself. And I love like going with friends to various islands and going to Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard and stuff. But just in terms of like maintenance and upkeep, and it's you're always like washing it or cleaning it or repairing this or repairing that, and like boat owners are the most stressed out segment of the population, and there's plenty
Yeah.
for me to do, yeah,
It's a
without
couple
having to.
$1,000s an hour by the time you add it up after a short summer season here too.
I enjoy going for runs throughout Chatham. I love swimming in the ponds and the ocean. We've got great ponds like White Pond, Schoolhouse Pond, Crow's Pond, the beach, South Beach, the water along there. You can just swim from the coastline, um, which is fantastic. And then playing tennis and just kind of socializing with my friends. Those are all like activities that you can really immerse yourself in while in Chatham.
I love all that, and I love your athletics. I know you've been doing some kind of really cool um, training recently. What's been your latest pursuit?
Well, so when I moved from Los Angeles, where I'd lived for 16 years, to Austin, Texas, and there's like a really strong fitness community, and specifically, there's a really enthusiastic triathlete kind of group here that a lot of people are super into cycling, swimming, and running, and I got kind of caught up in that addiction because there's kind of an achievement, a pain like achievement cycle that you go through, and you really feel the reward when you put in all that time and you're able to kind of assemble all those components, so the swim, cycle, and run component together, and you see your times getting better in each one of those categories, and you're also outdoors for all of those activities, right? And it's a
For
great
better
way to
and for
experience
worse, I'm sure.
nature, and like also it's a great way to disconnect digitally, which I find really important. So that's one of the reasons I like these activities so much is and Chatham's such a great place to do it. Like nobody can call you or text you when you're swimming or if you're cycling, and you kind of you're in the moment, and it's so hard to be in the moment these days.
So, two things. One, is it easy to cross your training route over to Chatham from Texas in the summer? Because it's different humidity, it's different
Oh yeah.
temperature. And second, what are you training for now?
So I'm taking like a break from big races because of just like some physical ailments that I'm getting over. Just because if you run a lot, your hips start taking a beating, and I'm just trying to get them back to health. But I still just run at a reduced rate. Um, and Chatham, I find one of the reasons I've loved Chatham as an adult is because at different seasons of your life, you find something different to respond to and exploit in Chatham, I found. And um, there's the bike trail, which is really great. There's just areas that you can travel by bike that you never go by car in Chatham, and they kind of there's a total unlock from like a scenery and just a landscape perspective, which is cool. So Chatham's a really small town that if you are open minded, you can see in different ways throughout the course of your life. You know?
Yeah, and in different views, especially I can see that because if you were just a runner or just a swimmer or just a biker, right, you would see it differently. But doing all three together, you get to explore kind of the ponds. I bet you didn't know about all the ponds that are here.
No, and I remember being like, I just started getting into um, triathlon and swimming in my early 40s, and like there's so many ponds in Chatham that I'd only seen one side of, like where the parking lot is, right? You pull up in the parking lot and then you stand on the beach, and that's the extent of your experience for a lot of people. And I was always like, well, what's on the other side? Like, what is it like to be on the other side of this body of water in the distance? And then I started training, and then I just swam to the other side. And there you go, right? Like, just like it's a totally different perspective of the same location. And that's why I like, that's one of the things I've really been able to enjoy over the past few years in Chatham.
From being here. That's nice. Well, you talked about the digital disconnect, which is probably super more important to you than some other people because your whole business is about digital.
Yeah.
Tell us what you do and how you got started.
Yeah. So I'm a talent manager, and it's basically that phrase is more or less interchangeable with talent agent. And I represent prominent creators in the digital sphere, meaning like YouTube creators, people who are prominent on Instagram, Twitch, etc. All the various social platforms, social media platforms, and and I started my career. Very beginning of my career was at a big ad agency in Manhattan, and I ran some campaigns for Volvo and Charles Schwab, and I did Volvo's first Super Bowl commercial, which was really cool. It introduced the XC90, which I now drive, which is kind of a
That's
funny.
really, that's
Yeah.
hilarious.
So that's how long ago this was. It was the Volvo had never had a SUV, and so in I think this was 2004, Volvo introduced its first SUV in a commercial
I'm
with
gonna go look that commercial up, by the way.
Richard Branson's in it.
Oh, really?
Richard Branson goes to the moon. Like you see a rocket go to the moon, and you see like the XC90 driving around this moonscape, and then the astronaut flips up his visor, and it's Richard Branson. Um, and and then I basically took the portfolio of commercial work I had done, which wasn't extensive, but there were some like cool pieces in there, and I got a job as a junior agent at a big talent agency in Los Angeles called ICM, International Creative Management, and I just kind of worked my way up there, and it was a really great special experience. I was in the motion picture department at ICM, working with screenwriters, directors, actors, and actresses, and I did that for a number of years, and then in 2013, I decided if I wanted to like really have a interesting, unique career, I needed to identify a type of talent that didn't have representation or representation in a significant way, and really advocate for them and kind of pioneer with them. And it's a scary place to be because you're basically making this bet that this new direction is going to be rewarding and it's going to generate the outcome that you need it to, basically, right?
It's interesting coming from somebody that was on the advertising side. So, like back in the olden days, right, of 1990 or whatever you were with the advertising side, it was probably after 2001. Did you say
Well, I,
2004?
I
Yeah,
started in advertising in 2004.
2004. So you were an influencer then, in a way, right? You were making an ad to the world, but it was before the social media influences. But you were really doing the same thing, creating content and putting it out to the world. And now you're on the other side. I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, well, then I started working with YouTubers, and it was kind of like the perfect, like, all these different threads were being woven together. So advertising, talent representation, and the creation of content that you would then pair with brands. So these disparate threads were being woven together to create like a really like unique position in the market, and I was able to communicate with a lot of different stakeholders in a way that was like relevant to them and helpful and reflected experience. And then fortunately I was able to cover a lot of ground relatively quickly, and my thesis was proven out, and the people that I started representing, many of which I still represent now, more than a decade later, are some of the biggest creators on YouTube, and they have done really interesting things with brands, like in-person experiences. I've sold a book that became a bestseller. I got clients in various movies and TV shows, and at this point, it's really, really funny because at this point in my career, new prospects and creators that I think are interesting, when I talk to them about becoming a client of mine, some of them say that they grew up watching my clients.
Yeah, your clients,
Grew
right?
up. Like I had somebody say, "Oh yeah, I remember watching one of your clients when I was in high school," and that just made me feel like, wow, I did not know how long I've been doing this, but really clarified things.
That's really, yeah, a compliment and an insult
Yeah.
wrapped up together there, I bet. Yeah. Oh, well, now, when you first started it, it's really hard to see the future, right? And something that's futuristic. Did you just solidly believe that this was going to happen and this was going to take off? Or did you feel like it was still really a risk?
Well, even if you really believe it, it's still a risk. And I did really believe it. I thought like there's no way it wasn't going to continue to evolve and gain market share from traditional broadcast outlets, i.e., television and radio, just because it was linear entertainment was felt very antiquated to me, and non-linear, for example, like you watch the video when you want to watch it, how you want to watch it, just seemed to be so much more preferable, right? So if I want to watch the YouTube show while I'm on the like on my bike, on my training bike, stationary bike, I can do it then, and then I can watch the rest on my phone when I'm lying in bed about to go to bed, and I still watch the video. But back in the early 2000s, like you either watched the show at 7 p.m. on FX or CBS, or you missed the show and you just catch a rerun, or you had, there's like it just wasn't really a situation that was consumer friendly or consumer oriented, and just those qualities alone gave me a lot of confidence in what I was doing. And then I felt that if I could represent the people who were the primary creators in that ecosystem, then I was directionally moving in a really positive, lucrative situation.
And you started catching on, I'm sure, and then you started to build your own brand of representing people.
It was very hard the first few years. Like, there's a lot of people, a lot of advertisers will go, well, with your client, just talk about this product for free. Like we'll give you the phone, we'll give you the computer, we'll lend you the car, whatever it was. And I was like, my client's getting way more views than a TV show that you're paying $500,000 for ad time on that TV show that's gone in 30 seconds. Like the commercial lives for 30 seconds on somebody's TV screen, and they're not even interested in watching the commercial, right? And you don't even know if they're watching it, but you're paying that $500,000 regardless. My client will do it for my client will basically come up with the idea, produce the idea, and distribute the idea, and it will live on his channel for a prolonged period, 6 to 12 months, perhaps more, and you're paying a fraction of what you pay for the television commercial. But we're not going to do it for free.
Right.
I had that conversation multiple times a day for years. So that's what it's like being a pioneer. It's unforgiving, right? But if you have absolute conviction in the direction and the reason for what you're doing, then I think it becomes like it's not such a chore, it's not such a burden. It just feels like you are a missionary kind of, and you're
In the Wild West.
Yeah.
That was that. Well, part of your job, it sounds like you had to do a convincing paradigm shift for the advertisers. They had to get the joke that it was a different way, and you coming from a background of advertising was probably very helpful in that.
Yeah, I mean, like the way I used to break it down is, if you're a brand, okay, you're Volvo, you're hiring an ad agency to come up with the commercials or the campaign, then you're hiring a production company to shoot the commercials, and then you're hiring a media company to buy airtime, to allocate budget to get exposure for the commercials. So you're spending significant amounts of money on all three steps. Every brand and advertiser understands that model, because that is the model that had existed for 100 years. And what I told them is, like, the model I represent is I'm compressing all of those steps into one person or group, right? So now I've got a YouTube creator who's incredibly creative and has a very loyal, engaged fan base, and he or she is on the video platform with the most distribution of any video platform in the world, YouTube.
And going directly to the type of customer.
So you have the person who's going to create the ad. He will also produce it, come up with the idea that's going to make it engaging and relevant, and then he's going to put it on his YouTube channel. So we just consolidated ad agency, production company, media buyer in one. So we asked is, like, how did I communicate with people in the traditional mindset, and I just used their own model, but I just kind of inverted it. And then when you put it in those terms, it's kind of hard to say no.
Well, and how does that how has that changed in terms of the scale? Uh, let's say $10 for is what they were spending, right, for the traditional model, and they probably when you first started they were paying the influencer maybe $1. How would where are they now in that space? And is it just different per
It's totally different, but
role?
I mean, like, you're basically I would say you're at parity with the old model. So advertisers are now paying what they used to pay. But when I started, we were definitely like heavily discounted because I had to generate cash flow to sustain my life, and all the money I was introduced like these are the people I represented, despite the fact that they're really significant in the creator ecosystem, had not made money this way because it was completely a new concept to everybody.
And it's been a good payoff for a lot of the advertisers. They've found the payoff, obviously. It's probably some more than others, but like they
But
found it
now,
to be
undeniably, it's where
successful.
the eyeballs are. I mean, it's public information. You look at the video; it's got 500,000 million, 2 million, 3 million views. You look at a broadcast or cable television show, and they're lucky to get 100,000 views. And those entertainment assets on the cable and network television channels cost hundreds and hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to produce. Whereas the content my clients make costs maybe thousands of dollars. Maybe. And so you can't, like, if the advertisers are going towards the creator ecosystem, there's no way the traditional model can sustain itself because it's completely lopsided in terms of production costs and revenue generated.
It's really unbelievable the way it's changed. What do you see coming up in the future? Like, obviously, we have AI already hit the scene and it's taking off. But how do you see that all changing for where sort of the sphere of influencers will go and even the sphere of advertising?
I think that advertisers are always going to seek the best value for their dollar spent, and they can be incredibly they can use all of this data that's now at their fingertips via AI, and various performance metrics and analytics software to really like isolate what's performing, what's generating ROI for them as an advertiser or brand. And the creators or influencers that generate return will be rewarded even more. But there is a middle class of creators who were basically exploiting the fact that software hadn't been generated yet and that those measurement tools didn't exist yet, but they were still like getting a lot of views or exposure, and they were just leveraging that to generate business for themselves. Those people will be wiped out.
That's incredible, though. It's just so it's going to be changing again, and just watching this whole business shift quite a few times, probably since you started. You were just at the beginning of it, infancy
Yeah.
of it, and to see it to now, it must be
It's very
fun to watch.
mature. I mean, it's not very mature, but I mean, it's definitely highly discovered. There's like like there's billion-dollar businesses formed in and around the creator ecosystem, um, and now a lot of people who are just pure opportunists who saw an easy dollar to be made are hitting significant challenge because if you don't develop the muscles and the insight and the network of professional and personal relationships within the economy, then you won't survive because now basically you have to prove competency, whereas before it was so new that it was hard to test for competency.
So how do they get to be, I mean, what do you talk to them about in terms of how to be inventive, how to be creative and how to be different? Like obviously they all have their own style and their own brand and their own message, but how do they keep that up without with people that want things instantly and something new and fresh all the time?
I don't think you want to play the instantly game. I think like so, as soon as you start doing that, you're like putting yourself on a treadmill to oblivion. Like I think you have to like first of all, not everybody is a creator or creative, and there's a lot like those people are going to get wiped out by AI because unless you have like a unique point of view and um, the ability to convey it in an interesting, intriguing way, then you're going to be just blown out, right? Uh, and then my recommendation to these people who do have a unique point of view and are determined and ambitious is like, okay, so you have to craft a message that's compelling. You have to be, you have to be, you have to generate and capture attention quickly, and then you need to create a sustainable model for yourself, and that could be 3 videos a week. It could be 1 video a week. It's got to be enough to stay relevant, but not too much so that you get burnt out.
Right. So they have to look at it. So, and I can see your point with people that just think taking advantage of a new technology, trying to just, oh, I'll be an influencer. But you're saying you've got to really come forward with a plan, a whole longevity idea.
Yeah, I mean, like, how many realtors are there who think that they're influencers, and then there's, you know, and then there's people who are like, I'm going to take you on the most luxurious. Ryan Serhant comes to mind, like the most luxurious apartments and mansions in the world, and I will be known as like a top tier residential real estate um, kind of expert, and then I will get that will be my brand, and then I will get all of the opportunities that fall below this because very few people can pay $25 million for a house, but then everybody with the $5 million house to sell will come to me and I'll get that whole world, right? But because I presented myself as like the number one expert in finishes and landscaping and like architecture and kitchens and what makes a property special and unique. And so those people have businesses that thrive way beyond the online experience and become like incredibly tactile, right?
Because, right, they know they're not really, they're selling that product, like you were saying, the high $25 million product, but they're selling themselves as an expert. That's
Yeah,
what
I mean,
catching.
it's all about expertise, right? Like that is a, or it's not all about expertise. You can be a really successful creator if you're, creating comedy or, whatever. But like, there's a dimension of expertise in that as well. But like in the areas that are like highly rewarded, it's like, okay, if you want to be a lifestyle influencer, like that is a genre that is totally irrelevant unless you are talking about watches, a specific watch in a way that's like educational and beneficial to the viewer, or dresses, or sunglasses, or pick category. But like the people who just want to be a tourist and expect that they're going to be like rewarded by the marketplace, it's naive because we're past that stage.
We are. That's really cool. What do you think the next, I mean, other than AI, what do you think what's really trendy right now, or what's really,
Well, like social media is there's a unpredictable component to it, and then which is like people always tell me like how do I make this video go viral or anything, and I'm just like dude, one of the most popular videos on YouTube ever was a Korean rap song. So you don't know. You don't know what society is going to respond to. Right?
or a flaw in a video
Gangnam
that
Style.
ends up being hilarious,
Yeah,
right?
Gangnam
Yeah.
Style is what I'm talking about. Like,
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I know.
like, or like, what does the fox say? Has like tens of millions of views, right? That random Scandinavian silly
Now,
pop
thank
song.
you. Now it's in my head.
I
Yes.
know, right? So, but then there's also a predictable dimension to it, which is spring, summer, winter, and fall. Like, what is happening right now? We're going into summer. So what are you going to see? People like talking about their beach routine, talking about their summer vacation, talking about, what to do with your kids when they're out of school. So like you're saying, what's hot? It's like, A, I don't know. B, I know exactly what's going to happen.
And speaking of trending into summer, you're getting ready to head back to Chatham. You're not in Chatham now, but you work from home all the time, right? I mean, other than some travel.
I work in the Los Angeles office of the company I work at, Night Media, for 1 week a month. So I'm in LA a cumulative three months a year. And then other times in the year and month, I'm primarily in Austin, Texas, and Chatham.
In
My
Chatham.
home office in Austin, and my home office in Chatham.
Yeah, it's great that you get to do all that. That's awesome. You can be here for the summer.
The Texas, the Northeast, and the West Coast. So I cover a lot of territory.
You have a lot of miles on your flight account.
But I love, I enjoy each location thoroughly.
Yeah, that's great. All right. Well, I'd like to ask you your my favorite question, which is where is your go-to spot, your secret spot in Chatham? When it's a crazy busy day in the summer, where do you like to go to kind of decompress?
I go to, I don't really have a secret spot because there's so many places I could tell you that I enjoy in Chatham, in North Chatham, and the Loop, in town, Main Street, in, the Beach Club, etc. The old village. Your house is one of my favorite spots. The Homestead. I love the Homestead, especially on the Fourth of July. But I go to we have a dog, Shiloh, which I take to cow yard, and I take Shiloh to the cow yard like like 3 or 4 days a week, and I call it cross training. I throw the ball down the beach, she runs, gets the ball, then I throw another ball in the water, and she just could go for 30 to 60 minutes, and she's completely.
A little mini triathlon that she's running. Got to get her a bike.
I haven't thought of it that way, but that's true. And she, and that way, like, she really gets like fully worked out, and I can kind of work the rest of the day without having to occupy her.
And that's great, especially in the morning to get a little sunshine, a little beach. Like it's good
It's
to do.
it's a great way. I'm there early, and the people on that beach are really chill, which is great, and it's a special spot. It's beautiful.
Well, thanks, Chaz. Thanks for coming on, and thanks for talking with me.
Bye, Barb. Bye.
Bye. For more local stories, favorite spots, and inspiring people who chose Chatham, follow and subscribe to Chatham Coffee Tour and stay connected. Whether you're already here or dreaming about life in Chatham, this is your place to belong.